Today, I'm gonna show you how to pour a concrete slab with rapid set concrete mix. And I just poured this slab yesterday in 35-degree weather while it was snowing, and I'm about to drive on it today. Let's see what happens. You're gonna have to wait till the end of the video to see that. In the meantime, I'm pouring this slab because I wanna build one of those really cool fire log enclosures. So that will be in a future video. But right now, this is the mess I have going on right now. But before we do anything, we gotta get rid of this pile of shit. 10 times better already. Now I'm gonna dig out the area and make it level. Ish. Just to make sure to make enough room for your forms. Now it's time to build the form. I'm just using scrap 2x4s for this job. That way we can get our 3.5 inch to 4 inch thickness of concrete. Now, this particular slab is 5 foot by 2 foot. So I made my long boards 60 inches and I made my short boards 27 inches to make up for the 3 inches. Using 3.5 inch screws to screw it together. After I got my form screwed together, I just placed it in the excavated area, threw out an adequate number of stakes, pounded them in, then just screw the stakes into the form with 1.25 inch screws, nothing fancy. This is where it's super important to make sure it's level. If any of your stakes stick above the form, either pound them down lower, or if it's too late, chop them off with a saber saw. Pretty soon, we're gonna be running a straight edge over this form and using it as a screed. You're not gonna want those stakes to get in the way of that. Now, we're ready to put in our gravel base for drainage. Now the rocks I'm using are way bigger than they need to be, but I happen to have a ton of rocks left over from an old project that I need to get rid of. Just use rocks that are 3/4 inch or bigger, and that's really all you need for this kind of project. Just don't use anything small like pea gravel. It's not what you need for this kind of project. But you want about 1 inch of rock bed below the form. If you're doing a really large area, make sure you rent a gas-powered tamper. Make your life a whole heck of a lot easier. And then I'd have to say we're ready to pour. Let's set up a good workstation and get to pouring some concrete. All right. As usual, I've got everything I need set up right here, right next to the job site. The more organized you are right now, the smoother things are gonna go for you. Especially since I'm by myself, I need things to go as quickly as possible and as easily as possible. With that being said, if you're using rapid set, honestly, anything over 3 bags, I would not attempt by yourself. But it is 35 degrees today. The water is ice cold and I've got a cool breeze coming in. So I'm gonna use that to my advantage. Remember, hot equals faster set time, cold equals slower set time. And if you're still not sure about the speed, make sure to use the set control. That's their concrete retarder. That will slow it down 15 to 20 minutes per baggie of set control. But you gotta dissolve this in the water first before you mix the concrete in. You'll get a much more consistent mix that way. And you can use 4 of those per 1 bag of product. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mike, you're not supposed to be pouring concrete in cold weather like that. It ain't gonna set up right. And with traditional concrete, you're right. Well, first of all, don't call me Mike. But if you're using the Rapid Set, this is one of the many features of Rapid Set is that you can pour their concrete in cold weather, like very cold weather, and it will still set up properly, it will still set up strong. The cold weather will slow that process down a bit, but you're still talking about driving on this stuff the same day. I know what else you're thinking too. You're thinking, Mike, aren't you gonna put down some metal reinforcement? First of all, stop calling me Mike. Second of all, absolutely. I really should put some remesh or rebar in here, but for what I'm doing, this is such a small slab, and for what's going on here, I personally don't care, but you absolutely put down some remesh or some rebar. It will stiffen this up plenty, but also I'm using Rapid Set, so I'm not scared. But if I was pouring a bigger slab than this, then 100% I would reinforce this with some metal remesh or some rebar. Let's pour this thing. By the way, thank you to Rapid Set for providing all the bag material today. 5 quarts of water. By the way, it's 10:51 right now. Let's see how long it takes us to pour this thing. This is a mag float, but you don't have to use a mag float. You can use a regular wood float to push the aggregate down and to consolidate. You know, I'm really wishing that I used the set control. It's looking like I need about 1/4 of a bag or maybe a half a bag more. All right, it's 11:13 right now after pouring 6.5 bags. It may look like I'm trying to finish trowel right now, but I'm not. I'm using the mag float or, again, a cheap wood float to push down the aggregate, consolidate it, and bring up the cream to the surface. Folks, please do not attempt this without set control. Just don't do it. Now I'm going to take this edging tool and round off all the corners because concrete does not like sharp corners. Now I'm purposely doing this before I finish trowel, just to simply rough them out right now. I think it's also important to note that when I come back this way, I'm tilting it this way. Then when I push forward, I'm tilting back this way. If I go like this, then I'm just gonna grab into the concrete. I don't wanna do that. Now that I got that roughed in, I'm gonna hit it with the finishing trowel to flatten things out. Again, tilting back with my stroke. Using kind of like a fan motion, if that makes sense. Now this really brings the cream right to the surface too. Using a 12-inch by 4-inch steel trowel. Now on a bigger job where you can't reach all the way, you would use a very wide industrial trowel. Obviously you can buy them or you can rent them. Now at this point I could just maybe touch up the rounded corners up and leave it if I'm okay with it being smooth. But if you want a texture to it and be non-slip, that's when you're gonna break out this concrete brush. And again, for the bigger jobs, you'd get it on like a long pole or one that extends. Gonna wet the bristles and then it's going to very lightly drag it across the concrete. Don't overwork this. Drag it towards you, lift it, move on to the next row. Also, very helpful to bang the excess off the brush. Overlap by a couple inches. Ah! Don't hit the dirt. That's all there is to that. Now I'm gonna hit it one more time with my edger tool, this time with the intent of finishing. And this just frames it out and gives it just such a nice border. Slow and steady wins the race on this one. Now, it's probably super unnecessary to put control joints in a slab this small. But if you are doing a bigger job, very important to put some control joints to control where the cracks are gonna happen, because cracks are going to happen. And you do that with this cool joiner trowel. Now, this is a control joint, not an expansion joint. The difference being, an expansion joint goes all the way through the bottom, and it allows for the slabs to expand and contract between each other. A control joint will control where movement or cracks go. Just one last cleanup with the roundover. All right, nothing left to do but to let this cure. Now, since it's so cold out today, I probably won't have to water cure this, but on warmer days, definitely make sure you water cure this for 1 hour or until the heat dies down, because this is going to get really hot. What you're trying to do is strengthen the surface and avoid surface cracks. With a traditional concrete or a Portland-based concrete, you would have to water cure for a whole week. Now, in the meantime, I'm gonna clean up all my tools, clean up my workstation, because when you're working with rapid set, you better clean up your tools right away, otherwise you're gonna lose them. All right, it is the next day. I wanted to take this out of the form and drive on it yesterday, but I just ran out of time. But still, we are going to make a point today with traditional concrete, with Portland-based concretes. You can't drive on this stuff for at least a week, especially not the next day. We're gonna drive on this thing with a truck today. So let's take this thing out of the form and see what happens. You know, I must say, I am a little scared because I just now remembered that I did not tap the sides to tap the voids out at all yesterday. So I'm a little scared to see how many voids we're gonna find. Not bad! Nice, I got little tiny ones here and there, but not too shabby. Huh? Not too bad for the third slab I've ever poured. I'm not joking about that. This is the third slab I've ever poured. Yeah, we got some imperfections, like went a little too deep and made some boogers over here in the middle on the control joint. The corners could be a little bit more crisp, and again, I wish I would have tapped the sides to work those voids on the sides out, but other than that, this is gonna do its job. But hey, I'm not a professional, and if you're watching this video, then, well, neither are you. So, why would we ever want to do something like this with rapid set cement? If you need to build a structure like yesterday, this is the only stuff that you're gonna be able to do that with. If you're forced to do this kind of work in the middle of winter, you can drill into it, you can drive on it, you can break dance on it, whatever you want after 1 hour of pouring this. Say you have a single car driveway that needs a repair and you can't stay out of your driveway for an entire week. You can use this stuff to repair a section of your driveway and drive on it within 1 hour. Oh, and a huge thank you to my patrons. So there it is, how to pour a concrete slab with rapid set concrete mix and be able to do whatever you want on it an hour later or the next day. Well, it's snowing again, so like and subscribe, consider becoming a patron, and I'll see you in the next video.